All of the items in this lesson, Lesson 15, are designed to help you prepare your final paper to submit it by 9 a.m. on May 2nd. This particular piece of the lesson covers some questions that I've gotten from students in the past few weeks in our class, as well as some areas where I saw students struggle with in previous semesters with the final paper. So the quick few things are to remember some things about your research paper. Remember that your research paper must be argumentative. It must take a position. Use chapters 6 and 7 in critical thinking, reading, and writing, as well as all the chapters and lessons from that book. Think also about the things I wrote on your previous papers. It's not an option to include MLA in-text citations and an MLA works cited. Your paper also must be formatted in an MLA format, and it must be 7 to 10 pages without the works cited. Don't include a title page. If you do, it will not count toward the page count, nor will any charts or illustrations or images that you include in your paper. You're responsible for proofreading and editing your paper, but you can seek help from a tutor or Smart Thinking, which is linked to from the Blackboard website, online tutoring. You'll need to plan ahead to use both of these resources, though. You can't use either at the last minute. You wouldn't be able to walk in and just get an appointment very quickly to have someone go over your research paper with you. So make sure that if you plan to go into a student learning center, that you make that appointment ahead of time, not at the last minute, not on the day before the last day that the paper's due. And Smart Thinking often takes at least 24 hours to get back to you. Sometimes it takes longer, so don't count on that either, of using that at the last minute. You can also make arrangements to speak with me or chat on the phone about your paper, but again, these arrangements must be made in advance. I'll be available during my regular office hours. Check my hours. If those aren't going to work for you, if you send me a message, we should be able to make arrangements, but again, you have to make sure you send this message in advance, not at the last minute. Under Help and Handouts, I've provided a variety of resources to help you properly cite the outside sources you use in your paper. Make sure that you follow the examples for the citations, even if you're using an online program or copying citations from your sources. If you're just cut and pasting the information about your sources, the capitalization might be incorrect, the information might be presented in the wrong order, it might not be an MLA format at all. This goes the same if you're using Noodleworks or RefWorks or one of those programs to build your works cited page. You still have to make sure that the font is correct, that the spacing is correct, that it looks like the example paper that I provided from the Bedford Handbook. Make sure any charts and illustrations you include are correctly formatted, and also remember that those things don't count toward the required page count. And again, the final reminder is to use the samples in the Bedford Handbook to guide you. I'm putting the address here, but the address is also linked to in this lesson, as well as under Help and Handouts. There's the sample MLA papers there, and there's also links to how to do the in-text citations and to format your works cited. Make sure that the paper is no more than double spaced. This is a big one. I've seen this happen in the past. And that there are not more than 2 spaces between paragraphs or between your heading and title your title and the body of your essay. In other words, if I see a lot of extra spaces that are artificially upping your page count, that's going to cause some problems for you. The font size should be 12. If your paper meets the page length because you used a larger font or added too many spaces or otherwise artificially adjusted the length of your paper, I'm going to make those changes when I'm grading your paper, and you can lose points for being under the correct length. See the rubric in this lesson. And then again, I'm putting that address for the sample paper, but it's linked to here and under Help and Handouts. We covered plagiarism in 2 lessons and in Chapter 7. The checklist from our book is here on the right. This is directly from our book. This is the definition of plagiarism we're going to use. You have to cite every word and idea in this paper that is not your own. You must also make sure that you put any exact quotes in quotation marks. Make sure that you use exact quotes, particularly long ones, judiciously, and that you format them correctly. If your research paper contains any plagiarized material in accordance with the syllabus, you will fail the course. Be really careful of that. Here's the policy on academic dishonesty from our syllabus. You can read over this if you need to read over again. Again, it's in the syllabus. I'm not going to go over it in great detail here because we've gone over it before. It's in the syllabus, and it's also in the PDF version of this video lesson that I've put in lesson 15. For using quotations judiciously, this here says see the checklist on next slide. Make sure you format them correctly. But I've put all this information under final draft tips. That's a PowerPoint and PDF that's in this lesson, and the same information is also under help and handouts. You can get help and feedback on your paper by making an appointment with a tutor in the English lab and the Student Learning Center on your campus. You can also use the Smart Thinking link to work with an online tutor. See that course menu on Blackboard for that information. You can also email me to make arrangements to talk or chat about your paper. You have to make sure that you make these arrangements to do any of these or all of these things in advance. I can't extend the due date any further than I have, or the time on the paper, that 9 a.m. time for anyone, because I need to make sure that I have the grades for all my classes done in time. You also just have to remember that no one at any of these resources is going to proofread or edit your paper for you. And that's it. I've put some other resources in lesson 15 to help you. Just make sure you view all of those as well.